This is your Kala Luster, and today I'm going to be sharing my favorite things about Utopia, a drama web television series recently released on Amazon Prime. It was skillfully adapted from the 2013 Utopia by Gillian Flynn. The 2020 Utopia was based on a British TV series described by Wikipedia as a black comedy conspiracy thriller drama, written by Dennis Kelly. It was broadcast from 2013 to 2014. The show has a really dedicated fan base. Critics such as Tom Sutcliffe, Sam Wollaston, and Mark Monahan complimented many aspects of the series, such as its great visual style, tantalizing, mysterious overture, and brilliant imagination. The only criticism leveled at the show was its intense violence. Here's my take. Considering we're talking about the dystopian fantasy genre, I hardly think too violent is a fair criticism. Sadly, the show was canceled in 2014. It's too early to say how the series' cult following has received Flynn's adaptation. That being said, it's to me amazing to see this brilliant work of art getting new attention. Too often amazing shows are canceled before they can get the success they deserve. There's an incredible amount of depth and world building in the original Dystopia, and with great world building comes great storytelling potential. For those new to the concept, an antihero is a character type in storytelling whose moral code is similar to chaotic good alignment in Dungeons & Dragons. Antiheroes rarely believe in ideals or any moral concepts which to them seem abstract. Antiheroes are not fans of faith or sentimentality, and they often struggle to trust anyone. Antiheroes are complex. They are usually mysterious. Their backstories often include trauma, disillusionment, and death. The anti-hero is something of an overall theme. The world of Utopia is one of extreme brutality, deep trauma, and total disillusionment. Some characters are such extreme anti-heroes that for me, as a viewer, it was a struggle to sympathize with them at first. And this is saying a lot. I am a huge fan of anti-heroes. Hellboy, Constantine, Roland Deschain of Stephen King's Dark Tower mythos. These characters are all fascinating to me. I'm also a huge fan of Spinell of Steven Universe and DC Comics' Harley Quinn, all well-known and well-loved antiheroes. The biggest quality of the antihero is that they do evil, but nevertheless charm and fascinate us. This is because within them is a struggle. Characters like the Joker, for example, have fully committed to doing evil. The antihero, by contrast, has an internal struggle. The fascination comes from wondering, will this character find redemption, or will the evil within completely consume them? The antagonist of Utopia is the perfect adversary for the antiheroes we encounter. A master of psychological manipulation, he forces us to ask ourselves difficult philosophical questions. Then he uses that doubt and fear to try to turn us to his way of thinking. Characters have all kinds of motivations in this complex, diverse narrative. Desires for safety, for answers, truth, vengeance, or closure. All these driving forces create a powerful tension and a fast pace. This show is like a car crash and a work of art at the same time. It is extremely hard to look away. I had to binge watch till dawn. It was that good. Like the characters themselves, I found that the desire for answers was totally consuming. The original Utopia was criticized for its intense violence. For those fans who loved this aspect of the drama thriller, they will not be disappointed by the adaptation. Personally, I am a long-time horror fan, and I'm usually less a fan of thrillers because they tend to be less violent. To give you an idea, I'd say this show, Utopia 2020, when it came to violence, was on par with the first Hellraiser. There's a certain balance which writers often find tricky. It's not easy to write a story which has depth and moral complexity, and at the same time it's fast-paced, drawing you in, a story that feels almost addictive. Utopia 2020 totally excels at that balance. The antiheroes in the story shock you with their brutal realism and moral complexity, at the same time slowly learning what horrors they have endured makes it very hard to not empathize with them, at least a little bit. Much of the cast of Utopia are lesser known in the acting world, but are very skilled and highly respected. I am really happy to see so many women of color cast in prominent roles without being forced to act out tired tropes. Sasha Lane does an amazing job as Jessica Hyde, an intense and coldly passionate anti-hero, driven by a desire for revenge as well as answers. She is a warrior and a survivor in every possible sense. Crystal Fox, an actress and singer, and Sonia Son, an actress and director, both give incredible, memorable performances as women who are both fascinating and complex. The two biggest names in the cast of Utopia 2020 are John Cusack, well loved for his roles in Being John Malkovich and High Fidelity, and Rainn Wilson, who became a household name following his role in the NBC sitcom The Office. The unique skills of these actors are employed very well. Here he evokes a moody and passionate scientist. We see a man who certainly has his funny moments, but is awkward and vulnerable. John Cusack has always had an incredible ability to say a lot with very little. He excels at playing characters who use subtlety, manipulation, or passive aggressiveness. And this knowledge is used brilliantly in his role as a cold-blooded but deeply charismatic villain. This story has so many things I love, packed into one incredibly fast-paced and emotional first season. But it never feels crowded. There's strong elements of magic, realism, and fabulism. Think Grant Morrison's Invisibles, except these characters are even more raw and chaotic. A fairy tale nightmare that is somehow hypnotic. At the same time, Utopia forces you to keep your feet firmly planted in the real world. This eerie fable casts strange names before us: Mr. Rabbit, Artemis, Jessica Hyde, and the eerie place known only as home, and yet these comic book characters leap out of the page with shocking violence and passion. Like Don Quixote, we find the lines between the world of fable and the world of material start to blur. These monsters are brought to life by the vivid and violent art of João Ruas. Blood red, abysmal black, and porcelain white is used to paint nightmarish landscapes, worlds in which symbol, code, and monsters of all kinds dance a freakish dance of apocalypse. This is without doubt one of the best TV shows I've ever watched. I was going to say it was one of the best thriller dramas I'd ever watched, or one of the best dystopian thrillers, etc., but this show is hard to categorize. Both the 2013 Utopia and the 2020 Utopia break out of every box critics try to put it in. Utopia has been called a thriller, a drama, a dystopian sci-fi, and a black comedy. But really, genres are stupid when you really think about it. When it comes down to it, this is straight up one of the best shows I've ever watched. I give it 5 pentagrams.